Hey everybody. Last time I talked about how, or set this up so that we could see the data and all that, see where things are. Since then, I have removed the Y and Z, like I had automatic um, animations set up on those, and the only one that was configurable was the start of the X. Um, So I got rid of that just so it's more predictable and a little easier to make animations that make sense and are kind of cool. Um, I've also added these form elements down here, which would give you the ability to see the X. And now you kind of see we have like double here because I've got to figure out a way to get this data down here. And I'll go over that. That's probably, but as per norm, usual. I'm going to let me hit start. 1 minute. I'm going to start with just kind of showing what we have. So basically, the only thing I can animate is in the X direction, and I wanted to kind of show some animations coming straight at the camera. So let me actually start with the camera. So I put typically the camera is at 5 on the Z axis, and I moved it to 5 on the X axis, and had it have it where it's looking at 0, 0, 0, 0, the origin on the X, Y, and Z axis. So basically, it's just looking straight down the X axis. So um, our meshes are we have a floor mesh, which is this white one on the bottom, and then we have a red, white, and blue mesh, and that's these guys, and they're sitting at the negative 3x, and they're animating to the 2, which is the default and the only possible, and then I have them side by side along on the Z position. So typically the blue ball, like on our normal, the way the camera's normally set up, the blue ball would be set up to our left. So yeah, actually, why not just show that real quick? So if I move the camera to our normal position, which is 5, then we can kind of see it on an angle because it's sitting out there. And then this is our default, like if you start. So we're just kind of seeing it roll by. But I think that's cool, but I think it was cooler to put this at 5. And actually, I think that's pretty cool, but I also think it's kind of cool to see it looking at 0. Now, as for lighting, and this is, what I struggle with this, but I have 4 lights, and 3 of them are sitting at the Z position 1. So they're basically above the balls here. And then the Y position of 2, they're above the balls, and the Z position of 1. So they're kind of over here to the left. And then I have one sitting where right behind the camera. So like if you had a camera, this would be like having one of those blue lights, or one of those little umbrella lights that they have behind there. But what's different about this is the camera normally prevents the light from hitting it directly on, but the camera makes no difference here. So that's what we have from an animation 3JS sort of situation and lighting and all that cool stuff. But I mentioned on my last video, I did what executives absolutely hate is I just laid out a whole bunch of problems and no solutions. And unfortunately, there are no good solutions other than to try your best and work hard. There's no magic bullet for fixing the problem, which the problem is of memory leaks, right? So because in the animated component, and unfortunately, I forgot to commit code yesterday, so we can't. Usually, it's really useful to be able to look at that, but in this animated items, which is what generates this guy, um, this table here. Um, I create these structures, this animation forms dictionary and animation forms array. And this is just a set of, of arrays, and this is a set of dictionary. This is a dictionary which basically has a key, which is the ID, and then it has the form groups, and that should not be the form groups. So one reason I can't show it here is because this should be the pairs. The pairs should be in there, and then that I would have access to the model. So when I was playing around with this yesterday, I purposely created a memory leak for our purposes here. But just there is the inspector, and this is the console. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn one of these meshes from on to off. So edit, and I'm just going to do this. And what this does is it kicks off a whole bunch of, oh man, that was not the one I wanted to do. That is hilarious. Oh wow. Okay, so you can kind of see where it's tilted, and now this red one is floating a little bit. So anyways, that's hilarious. So anyways, what we have is these pairs, right? And these pairs come in, and it has a 3 object, and this 3 object is a monster, right? And it's actually, now that I've dug in, it's not as bad as I was thinking it was, although I can't be really sure. But basically, it's big. It's got a lot of stuff in it. You don't want these things existing after they're no longer of use. And I believe what I did yesterday was I figured out a way to, what I'll do is I'll come in here and I will go, let me close this guy down, and I'm going to delete the red one, right? So just going to delete it. Okay, so the red one doesn't exist anymore. But when we look in, let me do this, see, it found these 3. So if we go to line 50 of the animated items, you'll see that we do a loop through all the existing keys, and it's finding this pair for this key, right? Because, and it's looping through, it's looking for the pair in our animation pairs list, right? So what happened was we have this animation pairs. This is an array of animation pairs, and it found, let's see, it found our red one, right? So all this data is still around, even though we've deleted it. It's gone from the scene, right? So it's doing us no good whatsoever, but it's still sitting in memory, and that is a problem. And that is the problem. As long as there's any references to an object, that object stays in memory, and that will keep a that will keep that piece of memory reserved, even though it's not being used, and it'll increase the footprint of your application. And 99 times out of 100, like everywhere I've ever worked, if it's a mature project that's been around for more than maybe 2 or 3 years, they have some mysterious thing where everything slows down, and usually there's some sort of like supernatural sort of explanation. They're like, oh, if you're holding this key down when you click that and click this, and then you do this and then you do that and you do all these crazy things, the whole thing slows down. Typically it's just like you have hit some sort of component or something where huge pieces of data are being created, and those data are, when they're no longer useful, are sticking around. And then if you go back, it might even be making duplications of that exact same data, but individual versions of that. And so this is normally the issue, is that these objects are staying around. Now this is also like it's kind of like one of those things where your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. This is JavaScript's greatest strength, in my opinion. The ability to, this is why when I come into this and I change my looping from, and I pause this and I change my looping from 5 to 7, 7, I don't have to do anything to make that happen, because they're both looking at the same piece of information and adjusting appropriately. And like in this code right now, there's no way to even get that red one back, right? Like if we go to meshes, it's gone, right? Red is gone. We can never ever get it back, yet it's still sitting in memory because I didn't delete it from memory. That's, I try to explain this all the time, and honestly, like, it takes. I'm just kind of working on the words and trying to figure out how to explain this. I'm guessing that if you've watched a lot of my videos, because I keep trying to explain the same concept over and over again, um, that this is, maybe this is getting old, but maybe not. Maybe you're still struggling. Um, it will I have seen people pick this up, right? Like a junior developer that I work with a lot will suddenly, like, it'll hit them one day, like, oh, I finally see exactly what you're talking about. And it's just amazing to see the improvement in that junior developer when that happens. But right now, it's I mean, I just have a difficult time explaining this. I definitely understand it and I can use it and I benefit from it, but I'm not really able to explain it. Anyways, yeah, so this three object for red still exists. It is sitting in memory, using up, making the application, making the whole computer slower. Um, and um, and if you work in a place, or you've seen a situation where everything just gets really, really, really slow, and you can't quite figure out, and usually the answer that everybody gives is refresh the page. It's probably something along these lines. Um, so, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.